welcome back to Cuckoo for Books. My name is Salva and today I'm going to be doing a movie review on the book to film adaptation of Crazy Rich Asians. It was a very faithful adaptation. I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect that it would be able to stay that true to the book. There were some changes. Some of the changes, like in terms of pacing, I thought were really needed. Some changes in terms of location were not, and I will get to that in the spoilery section. I know in my book review I said that the ending of the book mostly like dropped off. I thought this movie did a very good job of fixing that in terms of condensing the events and sort of keeping you on that roller coaster ride. Maybe a safe place to start would be the casting. I really enjoyed the casting. I was hesitant over the casting of Constance Wu. She surprised me in this movie. There were times when I was genuinely rooting for Rachel. I liked movie Rachel a lot more than book Rachel. But Nick in the book seems like such a distant dreamboat. I feel like Henry Golding did a fantastic job of making Nick seem more grounded. His portrayal really made me understand the character of Nick more. The casting of Astrid and Michael were well done. I love the casting of Astrid, but unlike the casting of Nick and Rachel, somehow this made me like movie Astrid less than book Astrid. Like I was like, I still love you Astrid, but I like you less a lot now. I loved this depiction of Eleanor. At first I was worried because it seemed like she was being too nice to Rachel, and I'm like, no, you keep up your face, girl. You're supposed to be mean and cold to Rachel. Why are you being so nice? The more it went on, you were like, oh, she's playing a game. That's really smart. I think this showed Eleanor as a little bit more cunning, but at the same time a bit more sympathetic instead of being a stereotype. Peiklin, I was really nervous about how they changed the character of Peiklin so drastically, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna hate Aquafina in this movie. I'm gonna hate her. She's gonna be so annoying. The first few scenes she was in, I was just like, I don't like you. I think you're yucky. And then slowly I was like, maybe you're not so yucky. Until towards the end I was like, you're not yucky at all. I really like you, Peiklin. Good for proving me wrong, casting directors. So many people were talking about Chris Aquino's cameo. If you're not from the Philippines, Chris Aquino is this like mega star here in the Philippines. Everyone went crazy over because she got a role in Crazy Rich Asians, but people were like, it's a cameo. No, it's a relevant role. No, she's just gonna walk by. No, she has lines. I was like, I'm so confused. There's so much info about this and I don't know who to believe. Her role, it's more than you expect, but not as much as you expect. So it's smack dab in the middle. If I had two complaints on casting, it would be the casting of Ken Jeong and Jimmy Yang as Peiklin's dad and Bernard Tai respectively, just because I thought maybe they were a bit too campy in their roles. One of the big worries I had, how they were gonna depict and introduce all these characters, because there are so many supporting characters throughout the book. There's no way they're gonna be able to introduce all of them and have you remember them. I thought the way they did it was very well done, particularly the text chain at the beginning of the movie and the whole Tyersall Park introduction scenes. I was like, oh, so that's how they're gonna do that. Great, that was really well thought of. Another thing I really enjoyed, forgive my ignorance, but I don't know exactly which Chinese dialect it was in. I did appreciate having every song on the soundtrack be done in Chinese. They still haven't fixed the whole Filipino stereotype thing. And I know Mina Villasguerra talked about this too. Shout out to Mina. But the first time that we popped up in the movie Crazy Rich Asians were as maids, and everyone in theater was like, cool. Of course, this is not in any way demeaning OFWs or the line of work of domestic helpers, but it's such a freaking stereotype. There were two Filipinos cast in the movie. Great, right? Only guess what? They don't get to portray Filipinos. Chris Aquino portrays a Malay princess. They don't really name her ethnicity, but she for sure as heck wasn't specified as being Filipino. Second one, Nico Santos plays Oliver, clearly Singaporean in origin. So I was like, so we don't get to play our own race? And the only people playing our race on screen are a stereotype? Cool. Fantastic. That being said, my mom and I were talking about this. It's still pretty freaking cool to have our corner of the world sort of be spotlighted on the international stage. There's a mahjong scene. Segue. So my friends and I love to play mahjong. We have this thing called the White House Mahjong Society, where all we do is, instead of spending Saturday nights partying like people my age do, we sit home and play mahjong. I watched with 3 members of the White House Mahjong Society, and we were all like, woo, mahjong, we know what they're talking about. We know the rules. How could she do that? I love being able to get it, like fully get it. And then there were articles explaining that scene, and I was like, I don't need to read those articles because I get exactly what she did. One thing that made me laugh, this article I was reading online that says, yes, that amazing hotel with the 3 towers really does exist in real life. And I'm like, yes it does. We all know that here. That's all I can say without talking more about spoilers. All aboard the spoiler train. Choo choo! The bachelor and bachelorette party. One blew me away, one did not. I really loved how extra Bernard's bachelor party was. I was like, okay, that's crazy rich. Moving on to the bachelorette party. That is not a fun island. I was expecting to be blown away by this oasis of an island, and as someone who comes from a country with 7,107 islands, that island was boring AF. Let's talk about the wedding. I really liked it. Araminta's dress, what was that? I think the one time when I was like, dang, those people are crazy rich, was when the aisle started flowing with water, and my brother pointed out that it was just when the lyrics were like the river flows. Just a fun little anecdote. I watched with my brother and his fiance, who are getting married very soon, and they decided that they wanted the song Can't Help Falling in Love to be a part of their ceremony. When they heard it play at the wedding ceremony, they were like, no! Now people are gonna think we ripped it off the movie! They told my mom to tell as many people as she could, so this is me doing my part and saying, if you are invited to their wedding and you hear that song, no, they did not rip it off from the movie. There, I've done my role as a kind sister. Funner anecdote, my brother cried during that scene because he could imagine his own wedding with that song. Aww. What was that wedding reception? You went from getting private boats to send you to a private island that you constructed specifically for the wedding to a reception at Gardens by the Bay. For me, that was the biggest letdown of the movie. Such a shallow thing, but I was excited to see that big glass structure. Mixed thoughts about how Michael in this movie was actually having an affair, and that's why Astrid leaves him. I think it's gonna be very hard now to set up the sequel. What is Astrid gonna do in the sequel? You know, now Michael is probably out of the picture for good, but I really loved seeing his transformation into this like brainwashed CEO, only thinks about money character in the second book. I loved seeing villain Michael, so I'm kind of sad that we might not get to see that. Moving on to added things about Eleanor. I really loved how they added this whole story about her having to make her own engagement ring because she couldn't get the family ring, and in the end that's how they showed that she approved of Nick proposing to Rachel because Nick gives her the same ring. I think I gasped out loud in the theater when he opened the box on the airplane and it was Eleanor's ring. I thought that was the best change I have ever seen to a book to film adaptation ever. Ending also where they had the entire family be there on the roof deck of Marina Bay Sands instead of just Paisley, the mom, and Nick and Rachel, but to have everyone there celebrating their engagement, that really made me smile. I could feel the joy in the air. I thought it was a great way to end the movie. I don't know how all over the place that review might have been. Maybe it was coherent, maybe it was not, maybe I was just word vomiting because I have a lot of thoughts about this movie. Definitely gonna watch again. Excited for the sequel. Great casting, great changes. More non-stereotypical Filipinos in the sequel, please. Maybe get better islands. Come to the Philippines, guys. It's more fun in the Philippines. And that about does it for my movie review on Crazy Rich Asians. You can follow me on my other bookish adventures on Twitter and Instagram at Cuckoo for Books. Please subscribe and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys!